All right, welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Podcast. I've got a special guest in the studio today that I'm sure is going to be a popular topic. Everyone loves to talk about this one. I can talk about the depths of business, and I can go into the inside of chiropractic. I can go into building referral-based practices, stress-free, self-sustaining, keep the overhead low. I can do all of those components. I can talk about staffing, staff development, staff hiring. Those are always fun. And those are all important topics. But the one that everybody wants to talk about is marketing. How do I get more new patients, Tom? Even though I am a firm, not just believer, I know that building internally, creating a higher retention in the practice, and building internally through how to create a referral culture is the strongest and I guess creates the longest or the longevity within practice with very little effort and creates a much more efficient process. I find that to be the thing that you can lean on. But marketing is certainly a part of practicing. It's a part of any business. And I've got a guy in the studio today that knows a lot about marketing itself, has had a long history of success in a lot of different industries in small business. I guess even when you talk about the film business, you've told me about that. But I've got Daniel Carroll in the studio with me today. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know this is going to be a good one. But you've also, along with the experience that you have across a wide spectrum, chiropractic is a passion for you. Maybe you can tell the audience as to why it's a passion. But ever since I met this guy, and I have to tell you, he was working with aligned members for years, and I didn't know it, but he was kind of spying on me. And he's like, "Man, this aligned company, man, they've got it going on. What do they do that's so different? You loved working with aligned members compared to a chiropractor that was outside of the aligned system, and you can explain that, but." He definitely dialed in and is dialed in with chiropractic and chiropractors and that messaging. So this is a topic everybody wants to know. How do I get more new patients, and how can I get my more bang for my buck out of marketing, making that marketing effective? Because you and I have had that conversation many times. Marketing's one thing. Having effective marketing where there's a certain dollar spent with an expected return is, that's going to get my attention. You just can't go out and start blowing money and think, well, I average 5 to 10 new patients a month, but I'm spending $5,000 to get them. There are many practitioners out there that may be listening today that think that's an acceptable return, where you and I both know that would not meet our measurements. So there's a criteria that we try to hit. But let's just start with Daniel. Tell everybody a little bit about you, your background, why you're passionate about chiropractic, and then let's dive in. Marketing
Sure.
as a whole.
Well, like you said, my name's Daniel, and I've been doing marketing pretty much my whole life. I started as a musician, and so 6, 7 years old, first thing you're doing is passing out flyers and designing t-shirts and trying to get people to come to your events and stuff like that. Eventually that would lead me to producing music videos and stuff, which then got the attraction of some of our lawyers in the industry. And then we started doing advertising for them, and particularly one particular lawyer does personal injury, and he works with a chiropractor. And so I met the chiropractor and started promoting that, and then found a whole new passion of being able to merge what I love to do, which is be creative and artistic, but help people in a way that I didn't think I'd be able to. And that's being able to connect them with doctors and lawyers as well, because, that's financial, especially after a car accident or something like that. It's a big deal. It's not just your health, but your whole life's been affected. And so I found a way to help people that help people. And so, starting really, really young, I had been going to a chiropractor since I was 5 years old. We went every month, and just was a part of prevention. We went to the dentist, we went to the eye doctor, we went to the chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something that my family believed. My aunt was CA. Chiropractic assistant, so that's why we were doing that, is because she was like, you got to get the kids in here. If you start early, then they'll have healthier, better backs and healthier lives. So we bought into that, and we saw the results from that. And we would go to a chiropractor before we'd go to our medical doctor. We would listen, whether it's sinuses, headaches. I've never been prescribed medicine for headaches. I've had them, but it's always go to the chiropractor. Go see what he says first. And so that led down this road of connecting with different people and stuff like that. And then I was sold. I'm a hard sell. No, I can't buy. I won't buy anything. No, this is the only brand. Other than that, no brands, no nothing. I don't want to. I don't like products. But I was 17 years old. I was injured in a car accident. I got rear-ended, and I had this guitar rack in the back of my car, and it flew forward and hit me right in the back. And I went to a different chiropractor. I was in a different state, but he told me a sales pitch that was the best one I've ever heard. And he said, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is we're going to fix your back and you're going to feel better again. The bad news is you're going to have to see a chiropractor every 3 to 4 weeks for the rest of your life. And I don't know if he was telling me the truth or he brainwashed me, but every 3 to 4 weeks, I gotta have my back starts getting a little uncomfortable. I gotta go get it, check it out. And so, that really sparked something in my business. And it was like, okay, so what he did was he met me where I was. He didn't, he just come to me and said, I'm gonna get you for the rest of your life or whatever. And regardless of his street, which he's a good, he was a good guy and he became a really good friend of mine. He really just wanted to help, and he just understands that, when you're of a certain age, when you go through certain experiences in life, this is your life now. This is, if you've gone 40 years without a chiropractor, you need a chiropractor. If you played sports in high school, you need a chiropractor. If you're currently playing sports, you need a chiropractor. Everybody needs a chiropractor. If you were in the fetal position for the first 9 months of your creation, you need a chiropractor. You were in a ball, you got, straighten back up. And so I just firmly believe in chiropractic, and chiropractors need marketing. One of the things that I hate about the system right now is that they're being taken advantage of. They're being tricked and scammed into, like you said, like, this much will get you this much, or this or that. First of all, there's no cookie cutter thing that's going to work. You got to find what works for you and works for your community.
Well, marketing's always, you and I have had a lot of conversations, and I have watched marketing change in what works inside of chiropractic for 30 plus years. And what is interesting, and I'll just throw this out and throw it back to you, because I have a lot of background in the marketing of what works, what doesn't, but marketing has always been an art, and it's never going to be a science, meaning certain fundamental keys. And that's what I want to, spend our episode talking about. Okay, well, what are fundamentals that you have to have right, and you have to think about, and then realize you can have fundamentals, but the strategy is going to constantly change, and the vehicles that it will work inside of marketing constantly change. So what I mean by that is the marketing that was red hot in chiropractic 7 years ago isn't working now, right? Because it has a shelf life, in other words. So why don't we just talk about the changes of marketing, and look where you were headed with that topic. How do you go about and starting and getting things right to to be successful in marketing? Because like you said, and I said, the things that were working 7 years ago aren't working, and right now there's a lot of scams out there, and chiropractors are not. Look, I'll be honest with you. The chiropractors are not first of all, they're not taught to be good businessmen and women in school, right? They don't teach you a solid business system. And they also leave you lacking in marketing skills. Yet, a chiropractor is an educated entrepreneur. They don't come out into the referral circle, one specialist referring to this next specialist and so on. You open your doors as a chiropractor, you're an educated entrepreneur. If you don't figure out how to create that inflow of business, you're not going to be in business for long. So it's easy for them to fall victim, right?
Yeah.
What is it? I love that slogan you had that you shared with me early on. It says, false prophets promising profits.
Yeah. 100%. There are so many false prophets out there promising profits, saying we'll do this and we'll guarantee. And it's a really hard sell for me, and it should be for everybody, because how do you know it's not a wolf in sheep's clothing? How do you know their real agenda? If they're a marketing company, and they're focusing and targeting on chiropractors. Why are they targeting chiropractors? Because they're an easy sell. They're an easy target. Because, like you said, they're doctors, but in the medical world, you don't have that. They're not businessmen, because when you go to medical school, you're told, get a job. You're going to work at a hospital. You're going to work this, and like you said, the huge thing was that referral system that they have, to where if you want to be an orthodontist, you can't even get an appointment with an orthodontist unless you're referred by a dentist. You can't go see an orthopedic surgeon if you're not referred by. So their entire network is built for them, while chiropractors at this point in time do not have that. They just don't have those connections, and they don't have the infrastructure and the support of the medical community.
That's right.
So like you said, honestly, what would be great is a DC, a doctor of chiropractic, who also has an MBA, because those two systems right there, that's a gold ticket to the next round. But what you said a second ago, was it an art versus a science? I'd like to talk about that, because I want people to understand that marketing and sales are very different. Because sales is science. Sales, you can have a script, you can have a system, you can have a process implemented that will work statistically, and you can use data-driven, experiences to push that. With marketing, like you said, it's very artistic, it's creative. You have to be able to think outside the box. You have to think about what works inside your community and what works for your clinic, your office. And so, sales and marketing are very, very different. Just like branding and marketing are very, very different. Branding is not marketing, okay? Marketing is helping the people that are looking for you find you.
Getting the right message to the right people at the right time to fill the right need.
That's right. Somebody has a headache today, and they are looking for relief today. That's marketing, having a system in place for that. Now, branding is subliminal. It's, I have a headache and I remember seeing something. I know who I'm going to call, because the branding was there. And the branding is like preventative. It's like, we're gonna build this brand, and when people need us, they'll know to call us.
Yeah, if I can jump in there, the term branding is kind of a newer, right?
Yeah.
Newer term, even though there's been a Nike brand and a McDonald's brand for years, and everybody knows what you see when you get the golden what you're going to get when you see the golden arches, excuse me. But forever and a day, of all the businesses I've run, and not just inside of chiropractic, there's always been a marketing budget, right? So typically in a general business, you want that marketing budget to be somewhere between 5 and 10% of your gross revenue. So if you're collecting 10 grand a month, then your marketing budget is going to have to run somewhere between 500 and 1,000. When you get to 30,000, there's as much as 3,000 sitting there. But that doesn't mean I'm going to spend the 3,000 every month. Number one, I'm going to market when I need to. But of that 3,000 or 2,000 or whatever the budget is, some of it's for what we're talking about here, direct response marketing. Some of it's branding
Right.
marketing, and that's what I've always called it. You're calling it branding. Today's world calls it branding. I've always called that market saturation. That's a reason, like, for years, when you were in small towns, if we had offices in smaller communities, we sponsored the little league outfield, and we had our signs on all the little league outfields fences. We had park benches. We had billboards. Billboards is not going to produce a certain number of new customers just because you got that billboard on the busiest highway, but it will create that when they do, like you're saying, when they do have the headache, when the time comes, they're going to think of the subliminal. I've seen them at the ball field. I've seen them at the
Yeah.
on the park benches. Everywhere I go, I see that particular business. To me, that's what market saturation has always been. So of my marketing budget, and I throw it back to you because you're the marketing expert, I'm going to let you do the talking, but that marketing budget needs to be set aside. And in most cases, it needs to be spent. If you're wanting the business to grow, it typically should be, if you got the right system in place. And in chiropractic, if you have the right system in place, it should be able to sustain itself at a certain level. But you advertise to gain, you refer to maintain, is the way I like to look at it. But that budget's probably going to be spent, but a certain percentage of that should be spent in branding, which is what you're talking about. So I'm going to throw it back to you there. I was just making a point.
Yeah. So in one sense, what you're saying is that there's a time or a percentage, but I would even argue that there's a time to do it. So, like, let's say you have a practice and you're a 7-figure practice and your schedule's pretty much full. You don't want to spend a lot of money on marketing. You want to spend a lot of money on branding. Because now we're building a culture. We're
dominating.
We're sponsoring baseball teams. We're in the high schools. We're becoming a pillar in the community, right? So, like, for example, we're here in Atlanta, okay? And you're driving down the interstate, and there's this massive Coca-Cola sign. The sign costs a lot of money. The electricity is a monthly bill for that sign. They don't need that sign. Coca-Cola is doing fine, right? That's not marketing. That's branding. We are a part of the Atlanta skyline. We are a part of this community. That's where that if you're there. So I would say the majority of your money, if you are financially set and your schedule is full, sure, you still need that marketing budget and you can put most of that into branding. But if you are trying to grow, then you need to put the majority of it in marketing and put a percentage of it into branding, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that cost of branding, I would say it's in the beginning stages because you're going to need a logo. You're going to need an image, signage for your building, all these things. And then marketing has advertising spend, monthly fees, and all this stuff. So, I was talking about Coca-Cola, you were talking about that 5 to 10%. Coca-Cola spends 8.4% of their income right in the middle of what you were talking about. Now, that's $4 billion, right? But 60% of that money is spent on digital marketing. So, not billboards, not signs, not sponsorships, built on
direct response marketing.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
What will lead to sales?
Right. Because although Coca-Cola is this extremely successful financially company, with chiropractic, what would you say the case average is for chiropractors? Can you throw out a number?
Nationwide?
Sure. Let's go.
Well, okay.
Let's not go within a line, not within the aligned family.
Well, and then another thing is case average or PVA. Now you're kind of getting into my world,
Sure.
right? Probably the average case average, if you threw everybody in the same bucket, I'm going to probably say about 1,500,
Okay.
1,800. That's throwing everybody in the bucket, right? But the way they go about creating that average is another problem, and that's not yours to
Sure.
solve. From your standpoint, is why are you so great? Why do I have you on this show?
Yeah.
Is because
Well,
you are great. You are good at getting people to the door.
Yeah.
I'm very good at teaching people how to keep them in the
100%.
door, right? Marketing should stop being. People complain about like spinal screenings, and I just look at it as like the old town square concept. The courthouse is in the center of town. The whole city or county grid of roads eventually leads there.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody tells me, well, I don't want to do spinal screenings. Okay. Well, we're going to go to that map and we're going to put a road closed because
Yep.
nobody coming down that street.
Right.
And I think, that's what marketing is meeting people at the right time, so they're not necessarily going to respond. You can speak to this from a marketing standpoint, but everybody, they're going to come from different sources, and some people are going to respond to different kinds of messaging. Some people are going to come off of digital.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are not going to come off of digital, but they will come to somebody that they meet at a health talk or they meet at a spinal screening or whatever. But when people tell me, well, I'm not going to do the spinal screening, well, okay, then you're not going to help those certain number of people that come in from that. But many people, and I'll throw it right back to you, many people say, well, different quality of people come from different kinds of marketing. Yes and no to that. It's up to you to convey the message and to create the urgency. And if you don't have a system and you don't have the communication skills of how to do that, then that's why aligned. And you love working with an aligned member because you see that when you get the people in the door, the judging of where those patients came from or that business came from should stop at the door.
Yeah.
And if they walk in your door, it's up to how that staff handles that, how the place looks, how they're handled, how the doctor conveys the message, and right on down the line. But your job, and you've done extremely well with that, of just getting people in.
Yeah, the most frustrating thing is being on the marketing side of things is you get people to book appointments, you get people to book leads, but they don't convert, they don't stay, they don't sign up for a care plan, or they don't go through with the plan that the doctor is suggesting, and then I'm blamed for not getting quality leads or quality patients booked. And so what I learned was that there was a connection with aligned chiropractors. I didn't know aligned was a thing until I had already had a few of your clients as my clients and thought, why are these people converting better than everybody else? Well, that's because I can only get them to the door, but aligned takes them the rest of the way. And my other chiropractors, they don't have that success. They have a much lower conversion rate. I've got to get a lot more appointments booked for them because they don't have the system to keep the patients, right? So one of the most important things was that if I get you one person, that person needs to refer you to another person. That's part of my evil plan. Part of my plan is, okay, they need 30 new patients a month. So I need to get them 15. That's my goal. Because if they can handle 30, I get them 15. Each one of them brings in their spouse, their friend, their aunt, a referral.
If you have the right system in place,
right.
you have a
If you
chance
have
of
the
that.
right. So that's how I set that up. If you don't have that system, I got to get you 30 new patients just so, or more.
And then if you don't learn to keep them,
Exactly.
then where are they? They're back at your door,
Yep.
knocking 30, 60 days later going, I need 30 more. And you're like, what'd you do with the
Yeah.
30 I got you
Like
last year?
there's a marketing strategy where you can leave off new customers, where you can exclusively target new customers, which is within the internet and Meta, Google, all these different things. If they're already patients of yours, then we don't advertise to those people. But if you didn't convert them, they're not a new patient to us. They've been there before. So we're leaving them off and only focusing on new people for you because they should be in your network. And like you said, if you don't have that system to keep them, they're not coming back because my team's not going back after them. We already got them, in the door the first time.
I think I took you down a rabbit hole there and I'll try to see if I
Sure.
can get your
Well-
thoughts back because you asked me what was the average case average.
So my case
nationwide?
average, what I was getting at was, $1,500 for chiropractors. What do you think Coca-Cola's case average is?
Probably lifetime. I would think of it as a lifetime.
Well, sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know of a chiropractic one single treatment that's $1.99. 99 cents at a
God, I hope we don't get to that point.
exactly a mall kiosk chiropractic. But you know what I mean. But Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Walmart, Apple, these are the most successful companies in the world. And they're still promoting and marketing with that same 5 to 10% because they're only making $5 a case. They're in the volume business. And so I just think it's amazing that number runs all the way through.
Yeah.
But you have chiropractors and small businesses who don't spend any money on advertising and expect results. They don't spend any money on branding.
That's the reason I've got you on here.
Right.
Right. Is to let's talk about everybody wants the new patients.
Yeah,
but
they want.
but they don't necessarily know how.
Right.
Or Daniel, let's be honest.
So
they don't know who to trust. They've tried these gimmicks. Yeah. They've gotten burned. How many times have I've seen it over the years that they're constantly asking Aligned over and over and over. They'll come like, who do you know that you trust? Because we trust Aligned. If Aligned vouches for somebody, we have to be real careful because then all of a sudden when those people don't work or they flame out, I can't speak to somebody for marketing, especially because marketing is always changing.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to vouch for anyone because, well, it might be working this year, but 3 years from now that they might not even have the same marketing team, that individuals on the team, and they're not getting the same. And then all of a sudden it comes back to me. Well, you recommended them, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I recommend them because you didn't have anybody and
Yeah.
you were not spending any money whatsoever in marketing. So to not market is foolish, yet to use the wrong kind of marketing is also foolish.
Maybe more.
So I can see why there is a frustration
Yeah.
that they're always looking for it, but they don't know who to trust. So let's talk about, if we can, what are fundamentals that people have to have right, first of all, which was part of your branding? You kind of hinted to some of it.
Mm-hmm.
What are steps that people need to make sure that they have right? And then what is kind of your philosophy of, as you know, marketing is constantly changing. You and I work a lot together on a weekly basis inside with Aligned, right? You and I do a lot of work, and stuff is constantly changing because that's what people are changing, right? But let's talk about fundamentals that'll never change, things that you have to have right. And then let's talk about some avenues that you're taking that you are getting these kind of predictable results with Aligned members.
Sure. So let's talk about branding first of all, because branding is everything. Coca-Cola is the most memorable logo on the face of the earth, right? Cost them over $1 million. Pepsi logo is the same. It's over $1 million, and it's unbelievably famous, right? Then you have the Nike logo. It costs $30, and it's one of the top 5 most memorable logos in the world. You have to have a logo. You have to have a good logo. It has to be high quality. It needs to be a vector image. It needs to be a PNG file, because when you are putting it on t-shirts, putting it on websites, putting on business cards, it needs to be top quality, right? You've never been to a hospital that wasn't top quality. You've never been to a doctor's office that didn't have a nice, clean, high quality environment. So when you are,
Let me say this. I haven't been back. Can we point that out to some chiropractors that are listening? Pay attention to what your place looks like, what your place feels like.
this is branding.
Right? Because the way you're dressed, way your staff is dressed, you're talking about the feeling
Yep.
of a brand.
These people have never been to your office.
Yeah, but
so
my
when they
point
see
is,
your
I have,
advertising,
you said I've never been to a doctor's office that was like
never
that was
been
like-
back.
I've never been back.
Never been back.
And
That's
neither
right.
of a lot of patients aren't coming back because of the way the place feels, whether they like it, and so on. But that's
Yeah.
about.
So when you have your clinic, you put all this energy, all this time building this thing, but they've never been to the office before. So you have to create a digital image of what it's like to come into your office, because that's going to establish trust. When they see the x-ray machine, when they see that image online, I know they do x-rays. I know I can trust this doctor. I know this is going to be a place where they're going to take care of me and keep me safe. If you have this clean environment, so your logo, your image of your company, it all needs to represent what your clinic is about in order to portray the right message. You want to know why people come to your clinic and they don't come back? Well, that's because your branding was one way. They saw it in real life. It did not match.
Correct.
Your first experience, in the church world, we say the experience starts in the parking lot, right? So you have parking lot manager. Let me get the car. Let me take you up front. All this stuff. With chiropractic marketing, the experience starts on the internet. It starts as soon as they Google that, those images, the map, the phone number, everything, the descriptions, all of it have to be a great representation of what you do, because that will affect your conversion rate.
And that goes along with your messaging, correct?
Correct.
Not just your images.
Correct.
The messaging of having the right messaging out there, which because that's what marketing is. Marketing is getting the right message to the right person at the right time with the right need, and that's why marketing's constantly changing, because people's needs are constantly changing.
Right.
But you got to have that messaging.
Branding
right.
does not change. Whatever it is. Mercedes logo's been the logo forever, and it's never going to change. That's the brand. That is what the brand is. A brand is like a mission statement. It's like a visual mission statement, and your messaging is a part of that as well. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Whatever your slogan is, all of that stuff, that's all part of what your brand is. Now, poor branding financially, right? So I have had a chiropractic client who put all of his money in branding, 100%. And I mean $40,000 on a truck that had his office name, clinic, down the side of it. Doesn't have $1 for advertising. So guess what happened to that guy?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, he can't stay open because he doesn't have a budget. And he did. He had $40,000.
Oh.
He had $40,000 that he spent on vinyl wrap for branding because he put it all on his image. You can't do that. That's a waste of money. And that's what I was saying when you were talking about, not spending it or whatever. Wasting it is very dangerous because you can't get that back.
Correct.
You make 1,000 T-shirts with your chiropractic clinic on it. You can't get a refund on that. That's custom clothing, right? So you can drop it off at the Goodwill and see what happens. So, branding, you got to be very, very careful. But you got to make sure it matches. If you're a web designer, your logo designer, your photographer, whatever, it's your responsibility to make sure that they're capturing and creating content that represents your brand. If they've got a logo, don't just pick a logo. Don't just, yep, those pictures look good. No, look at them. Are they good? Do they represent what you want people to see? So you have to have a little bit of control and a little bit of input on what you want your brand to look like.
And you help with that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, to be really honest with you, I haven't signed a single chiropractor where we didn't rebrand because their colors don't match. They don't go together. They don't represent what the company is. I'll go into the clinic and say, you don't look like this online. You're so much better than this. Look at what your website looks like. Look at what your logo looks like. And look at what your clinic looks like. It's an amazing place. And online, I have no idea what I'm about to walk into and expect. So I'm either disappointed or I just don't book. I just go with somebody I can trust. Because, again, it's late. I got a headache. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time picking. I want somebody who's got a lot of Google reviews that looks like a clean, healthy, safe place to go where it's going to treat me for a headache naturally. That's what I want. And if your branding and your imagery online does not portray that message and your messaging doesn't portray that message, I'm going to go to the next person.
So let's move. That's a good place. Assuming they get that, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. Aligned went through a rebrand. That was about the time that you got introduced to us,
Yeah.
right? And we went from the old, been around for 30 plus years, and then we came into that rebranding. But now the rebranding has has gotten into our marketing streams, and that brand is getting recognized, right, with that quality of what we represent, of who we are and what we are. So the messaging's meeting it. But let's assume that you got the right brand and done.
Right.
Whether Daniel helped
Step one.
Step one, it's checked off the list. Whether Daniel helped you with it, or you just got lucky, you got everything's ready. Everything, the pump has been primed. How are you going about? Because what I see, Daniel, and again, when you get into the digital world, like you said, I knew how my budgets are supposed to be run. That's called business 101.
Yeah.
Right. I know how to run businesses. And I know a lot about different types of marketing. I can take you back to the antiquated stuff. I can take you back to the days when the most lucrative sales job in the country was called a yellow page salesman. It's crazy. Back then, man, you had to pay for it because that was it. You and I both know, you and I have these conversations, there's such a difference between each social media. So in digital, not only is it changing constantly, each one of the funnels have a different functionality. In other words, like talk to everybody about having, it's one thing to have all this clickbait meta stuff, and clickbait, that's where you get this cookie cutter crap where they're going to guarantee you so many. Clickbait's not going to work time and time again, and it's not building a brand. It's that kind of stuff doesn't.
And in fact, it seems deceptive and it really breaks trust.
And Meta is more of a billboard. You and I talk about that. It's a billboard.
If Google is the new Yellow Pages, then social media is the new newspaper. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If Google is the place where you go, and instead of it you went on the phone, now you go in the phone, right? If Google is the place where you go to search for something that you're looking for
and to research, then Instagram, Facebook, especially Facebook, Meta, especially Facebook, then it is the new newspaper. You open it up and you are reading. You are just scrolling and there's an ad. This is something I'm interested in. Oh, this is local. This is news. This is ad, right? It's news paid for by advertising. And that's really what Facebook is. That is where brand recognition comes in. So now you've got your brand. Step one's done. You've got a great logo and you've got a great image. Now you got to get it out there, right? Mm-hmm. So what Meta is a place that's like taking out an ad in the paper. While I'm reading this new recipe on chocolate chip cookies, off to the left, there's an ad about chiropractic care, right? A great representation is that you have a car accident on the newspaper, right? You see this I've never even read a newspaper. So well, you had this picture of a car crash and then you had this paragraph written about it.
off to the left, there's personal injury attorney and a chiropractor on the right about neck pain and concussions and all this other stuff, right? That's the perfect place for it. It's the same exact thing. So when you're in Meta, what you want to do is you don't want to distract them. You want to cut through the noise. Okay? You want to have them scrolling and see something that they're seeing without seeing. Because when you're reading the paper, you're just reading the paper. You're seeing all these ads. And then you remember seeing, I remember I saw an ad in the paper for that. Oh, I remember I saw an ad in the magazine for that. So Instagram, the new magazine, right? It's mostly images. And it's got a little bit of words here and there. But most of the time, it's just pictures, perfumes and all this stuff. And I remember seeing an ad in the magazine for that. So,
and isn't it true though, where I said earlier, marketing is an art, not a science. It's constantly changing, and the marketing that was working 7 years ago isn't working now. It's changed in that Meta 7 years ago. You may, even back then, you may have clicked on a Facebook ad.
Yep.
But nowadays, there's a lot of people. I won't say how many, I won't say a percentage, but there's a lot of people that are not going to click on a Facebook ad.
Yeah, because everybody has sent that message that said, "Hi guys, my account's been hacked.
Right.
Please don't accept any friend requests from me."
Right.
Or,
so
or
nobody
whatever.
clicks on it.
Yeah, because
but
they don't
what
feel
they
safe.
do, and this goes back to, from a marketing standpoint, how are you getting the results that you're getting?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting all. You have the Meta campaigns, but people are seeing it there, and then they go to a site that they trust. They go to Google.
Yep.
They research, and if you don't have Google ads done properly,
Yep.
with the right campaigns or with the right budget on Google ad campaigns, and you don't have your SEO is a old term, but if you don't have that in order, because people don't click on necessarily the Meta ad, they see it and then they go research it, and then all of a sudden they funnel in.
That's
from
right.
Google.
They work hand in hand. Like I said, you've never, you're looking through a magazine. There's a Gucci cologne in there, whatever. You smell it or whatever, but there's no product. There's no way to purchase this thing. So then you go to the mall and can I smell this one? Can I see this one? So you have to go to a place that you can trust. It's the same exact thing. On Meta, you make this post that talks about, pain relief or whatever, and then they are going to go to Google where they trust it and then look that up. But if your stuff isn't implemented, they're not going to find you. And then they're going to go back to Meta and it's going to be gone. And it's like, well, where was that thing? I saw that thing. I was going to send it to somebody or whatever, somebody that people don't understand when it comes to chiropractic referrals. Most of the time I refer chiropractors, I'm not in any pain. They are, right? I'm referring somebody that I know, that I care about, and I refer them to somebody that I trust, right? Well, that's how Meta works, right? You have to create this shareable content that Aunt Millie is struggling with, sciatic pain, and you want to send her this thing so you got to make this content. And then, but you got to get them, it's got to be well connected to what you're doing on Google and on your homepage, on your website. And so making sure all of those things are in place and they work and they function. Scheduling, you have to be able to have have all this stuff set up. If you take appointments online, right, then that's all got to work. Because if I saw your ad on Meta, and then I go to Google, and then I go to your webpage, and I go to schedule an appointment, and it doesn't work, now I'm just frustrated because I just spent 10 minutes not getting an appointment to see you. Mm-hmm. So 100%. And the thing about the internet is it's an organism. It is alive and well. And it was the yellow pages, and then it was Yahoo and AOL. Yahoo was huge. I mean, Yahoo ads were everywhere. Pop-ups were a big thing. And then MySpace, and then Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
And 10 years from now, it'll be something
It'll
totally
be newspapers.
Nice. I would love for that to come back. But it'll be something new.
Yeah.
Right. Even 2 years from now, it'll be something new. But the keys to, or the fundamentals of marketing will not change.
No.
Messaging will not change. Branding will not change. the Nike mark that you talked about that cost
Yeah.
them $30 to create. You know how old that brand is.
That's right. But I will
Right.
also tell you, it's not the first logo they used.
It's not. That's correct.
So they did a rebrand.
They did a
and
rebrand.
it was a great rebrand, and they never had to do it again.
Mhm.
You know,
So
the Align
brand-
rebrand.
so-
it's great. It's timeless.
It's timeless as long as I'm around.
Exactly.
Right? I got it. So anyway, let's. I mean, we could talk about marketing,
For
and this
days.
could end up
Yeah.
being an extremely long podcast. We've only got a few more minutes before we need to wrap it up. But obviously, folks, you can tell when you connect the right marketing and you get somebody you can trust. Number one, that's going to give you that insight. That's going to make sure the brand is in place, making sure everything's connecting. It's not clickbait. It's not, a scheme or a scam. It's an actual fundamental strategy to make sure that all of our marketing, because we haven't even gotten into the fact that you can help create event marketing.
Yeah.
And we're not
Internal
we
marketing,
could probably do another show.
Yeah.
We'll get into internal marketing. We get into community outreach marketing.
Yep.
We've just spent
We're just
most of
talking
our
about
branding and
Yeah.
digital marketing today. But here's the thing. When you get the right marketing in place with the right budget and you get consistent, you can't do that, folks. You can't spend it 1 month
no, you have
and
to.
then I'll wait 6 more months later. Oh, can somebody please drum me up another 20 new patients? No, it needs to get into a drum beat
Yeah.
where it's consistent, constant exposure, and then you'll build that. Now you combined what Daniel's doing and you combine it with a system like Align that builds the long-term, the high retention, building that referral culture. Then you get to examples like we have inside of Align as you market. They spend in all their branding. They're
Yep.
constantly branding in that community. I could think of somebody just comes to mind right now, Lindsay Johnston. She dominates that market, right? She has the dream practice. She's marketing, she's advertising, making offers when she wants to. If she wants to do a teacher appreciation, event in the community for new patients, she can, but she's constantly branding.
Yeah.
She's still spending that budget. But the key is when you get that combined, the right marketing and the right marketer combined with the right system, then you got the golden ticket, as you called it a while ago.
Yeah. Well, you've got your system is referrals, and referrals are people you know. And marketing is referring to people that you don't know. Nobody knows you, right? It's the same exact philosophy, but it's just people you don't know. And so, you have to build a system first and a process that works. And then you promote it to the world. You promote it to your community.
And you spend the time with your clients. I mean, we got our friend down in St. Pete that you've worked with. We've got Dr. Nicole from Tennessee you've worked with that I'm just know off the top
Sure.
of my head. You spent a lot of time with them just making sure all, like you just said, the functionality, not just the branding, the imaging, everything was saying what we wanted to say. You even got down to the appointments, the process. What's this process? What's this patient that I'm going to spend money to get, this prospect? What are they going to experience?
Yeah.
And then trusted that the Align system would support it. And then you're not having to get, like you said earlier, the 30 new patients. You're only having to target the 15.
You just have to hit, whatever their goals are. It's all customized. That's the first thing that you know. There's no way to cookie cut this process. If St. Petersburg, Florida versus Fayetteville, Tennessee, they have completely different web designs, different logo strategies. They have entirely different marketing campaigns, both thriving, both successful because they're not cookie cutter.
Correct.
If I tried to do in Fayetteville, Tennessee, what I'm doing in St. Petersburg, Florida, they wouldn't work. And if I tried to do what I'm doing in Fayetteville, Tennessee and St. Petersburg, Florida, that would not work.
Correct.
Right? I've got Nicole Mothy, and she's working as this hometown. She's been there the longest. She's a 6th-generation chiropractor. Heritage is how we're building her campaign, right? And our doctor in St. Petersburg, Dr. Chris, he's writing a book. we're increasing his celebrity because it's Tampa Bay. You know, that's what they want to go to. Like, they want to go to people that are world renowned. And so, you know, we're building his image into this globally renowned person that you can reach locally. So you have to have somebody on your team that will take the time to understand what you do, then will help you do it. Help because you're going to see holes when it comes to marketing. You're going to see holes. You're going to say, okay, look, if you want me to sell this, we can't say it that way because that's scary. Like upper cervical, that little needle thing, that's terrifying. You know, you can't use that. You talk about the symptoms, you talk about the relief, you use the testimonies. You don't show a baby underneath this long needle. That's terrifying to new parents, right? So you got to have somebody that understands what you do and is willing to help you market it. If it's this, flat rate thing, we got these packages, that's not going to work for you. That's never going to work.
Not consistently.
It might work for a short time, because they have a trick, something like that. But I don't want to build short-term results. I want to help you build a company that's gonna. Very first conversation I have with any client in any industry is, what's your end game? Because the way my company works is we're like a Google Maps. We're gonna show you the directions, but I need the destination first. I need to know how many patients are you wanting to see? What's your revenue? What's your dream revenue? How many locations do you want to own? Where do you see yourself in 25 years? Okay, let's make a left here. Make a right up here at this traffic light. Let's navigate this thing. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you want 50 new patients and you're the only chiropractor in the clinic? Let's start with 20. Let's see if we can build up there. Because if 50 come in tomorrow, you're not going to be able to schedule them.
You're not going to be able to handle them because you don't have the processes.
Exactly. You don't have the process. You don't have the systems. You have to,
So, like I said, Daniel, I knew it when we got in here. We could talk about marketing because we can add to it. We didn't get into internal marketing. We didn't get into community outreach marketing, but we got into enough. Yeah. I think everybody can tell this is different, right? So don't buy all the clickbait nonsense. Don't buy the packages, and that it's not going to last, and it's going to frustrate you. So you need somebody like a Daniel on your team, on your side, and that's why I wanted to bring him in and feature him. And here's the other thing. Daniel's one part of the scenario formula. Why do he and I work so well together? Because he recognized early on, he's like, I work with all these chiropractors, and then these people that get this conversion and this retention, this is amazing. What is this? And he found that 4 years ago with me. And so if you're out there, this is the Chiropractic podcast. This isn't a podcast just for Align members. This is for chiropractors. So if what Daniel's talking about resonates with you, Daniel, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, honestly, you can just text me. My phone number is 615-674-7379. Just send me a text. You can also email me. My name, Daniel J. Carroll, DanielJCarroll @live.com, and I'll get to you just as quick as I can, and I'd love to talk to you and see how I can help you guys out.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you've heard on this podcast wow, not only do I not have a guy like Daniel on my side on the marketing, I don't have what they're describing as this system and this consistent success, this track record. That's what Aligned is for. So if you're interested in learning more about that, that's going to be amcfamily.com. Encourage you to research us and then know that when you're with AMC or Aligned, there's a connection with a Daniel Carroll too as well. So it's nice to have both. So I encourage that. Daniel, thank you for taking your time to join me here in the studio. It sounds to me like you'll be back.
Yeah, we got to finish the rest of this. There was like 17 bullet points we didn't get to.
Well, I'm glad we got to 2.
That's right.
Anyway, thanks.
We'll make it a series.
Sounds good. We will.
Yeah.
We will. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.